It's all about humanity. About humanity. It's all about humanity.
Hello, what is going on? To my subscribers, bring it in, bring it in. Forehead kiss. Hello, how are you? My name is Crystal and I started doing jiu-jitsu when I was 30 years old and I am now 35. So I saw Ronda Rousey and I was like, I want to get in that cage, and I started learning jiu-jitsu and I achieved my goal of an MMA fight, my first MMA fight. I think it was like 2 years ago. I had another scheduled, COVID happened, and I just had my most recent one. So things are possible at any age. So that brings me, I'm going to share with you like 5 things that I wish I knew, and some encouragement and some insight so that you can feel motivated and feel good about going, and also know what you need to know. That way you go in there and you're prepared. You know what I wish I knew when I first started, and sometimes need to remind myself to keep on doing. All right, so first of all, age is literally just a number. Lifestyle is going to matter more than your age. Like, I've seen people who are 30 and lifestyle just matters more than age. And if you feel like you're out of shape or you're not in shape, I've seen people start jiu-jitsu overweight, and I've seen people transform before my eyes. Like, before and after pictures of a year, it is a totally different person. I'm talking like, this one guy came in, he looked like a little pudgy doughboy, and within a year, he was like, doughboy is probably the same age as me, but like, he had like a chiseled jaw, and he looked like, you know what I mean? He looked like a legit like warrior. Like, he could have been on the 300 movie, you know what I mean? So don't feel like you have to start already at your peak health. Jiu-jitsu will force you into that lifestyle. So once you start, you're going to have to make a choice, because the next morning when you wake up, you're gonna be sore as fuck, and it's gonna feel like a Mack truck hit you, and you're gonna have to be like, okay, like, in order for me to do this, I need to make sure my fluid intake is on point. I need to make sure my diet's on point. And for me personally, because I'm a smaller person, I'm literally typically the smallest person on the mat for the majority of my training, 5 years. Imagine being the smallest person all the time, rolling with bigger people. Like, if I can survive and do it, you can do it too. So it's really important, if you are a small person, to make sure that you have strength, because that is going to protect you from injury. You need to listen to these 4 other points, because this will save you. My third point is, we require a warm-up before rolling. 90% of my injuries have occurred because I started rolling completely cold and did not warm up. So I don't know if like younger people can get away with it. We all try to warm up before rolling. Typically there is a class before rolling, so that helps you get warm. But if you're going in on, like, let's say a Sunday, or they're just having an open mat and no class before, make sure you warm up. And even if you feel weird because you're the only one doing it and it's not an organized warm up, just make sure you don't start cold, especially if you're the smallest person on the mat, because you won't have anybody to warm up with. Like, everybody's a hard roll. Like, there's no, like, if I had somebody 50 pounds lighter than me, like, that'd be like going with a friggin' small child. I think it would feel a lot easier. All right. And this brings me to another very important point. So when you start jiu-jitsu, you're gonna do, in my experience, I started with 2 classes a week, and I was sore as fuck, and I was even going in athletic. Like, I was an ice climber, rock climber. I just had finished a period of competing in bodybuilding, and so it's not like I was off the couch. But even for somebody who had an athletic background, I still needed I could only do like 2 days a week of class and I was still really sore. And that happened for a couple of weeks time, and then I was able to slowly ramp up and get into rolling. Now, rolling is another beast entirely. So once you've acclimated to class, then you can start rolling. And your first roll, your brain isn't going to understand that you're somebody's not really trying to kill you. They're just practicing the art of murder on you, like a rear naked choke. If you hold it, they will pass out. If you keep on holding it, you can kill somebody. Like, it is legit. Any type of choke in jiu-jitsu is lethal, okay? Like, this is no joke. This is it's the real deal, Holyfield. Yeah. So when you are first rolling, your brain isn't going to understand that it's just practice, and it is going to feel like somebody is literally attacking you. Like, you can tell white belts because they typically are over gripping because it's such an intense experience. They're out of breath even though they have good cardio. It's just a time period that your brain is going to have to get used to, or you're gonna have to just train your brain like, hey, this is okay, I'm okay, we're just training, it's okay to be on the bottom. Because when you are first rolling, for a lot of people, it feels very uncomfortable, and that is an understatement. Like, it is going to feel like somebody's attacking you, that you are legit in a fight, and this is important to train yourself under those circumstances because you know exactly how you're going to react when you are in a fight. Like, that's the beauty of it. Like, even if you don't even learn any technique, and just the experience of fighting underneath somebody that's like hot and heavy and sweaty, and you feel like claustrophobic, like you're gonna pass out and your brain's going crazy, like that is training in and of itself. So let me just forewarn you of like what's gonna happen. Nobody really tells you this. You're gonna walk in and you're gonna be like, is this a prison scene? Because why are people aggressively hugging? All right. And then once you get acclimated to rolling mentally, physically, this is the barrier that you're going to come across. And this is the barrier that I needed to overcome as well. So while you're developing skill, there's a time period where basically everybody is going to be better than you on the mat. Everybody, in my case, was stronger than me on the mat and bigger than me at the beginning. Well, stronger than me at the beginning. Everybody's still pretty much bigger than me now. So when you first start rolling, it's important that you assign a value to people mentally. And what do I mean by this? If you weight train at all, you know that there is a thing called volume. So the weight of your weights times the number of sets and reps equals your total volume. One thing that really helped me in calculating my rolling volume so I don't overtrain is assigning a value to people based off of the intensity that they usually roll at, how strong they are, how much fight they usually produce, and yeah, just like weight, strength, athleticism, and how much of an ego they still have. So for example, rolling with my boyfriend, he is 210 pounds. It is pretty much all muscle. He is a huge pain in the ass on the mats. And I know that if I roll 3 rounds with him, 3 5-minute rounds, like I'm gonna feel like toast if we're going at a good pace. Now, if I go with somebody a little lighter, a little less athletic, then I can get in more rolls. So it's almost like, do I want to lift the heavier weight and go for less reps? Or do I want to lift the lighter weight and have the ability to do more reps? So for example, another high value in terms of, I wouldn't be able to get a lot of rolls in. So the other, like Saturday, I was like, all right, let's do some hard rolls. I chose the experienced white belt that was super, super athletic, did not want to lose. He fought tooth and nail. This wasn't like a flow roll where it's like playful. It was like to the death. And I was recording it. So He's like, I don't want to get beat by a girl. I don't want to get beat by a girl on the internet. Like, so he was fighting hard. That was a very high intensity roll. And after that, of course, I continued hard rolling with like 3 other people doing double rounds each time. And now I am paying the price for it because I have an opening that I get Kimura'd and I did not tap. I thought I could fight out of it, but just the repeated trying to fight out of a Kimura, like now all this is sore and I am sitting at home making a video instead of training. So now instead of training, I mean, I typically train a lot. So now I have to cut that in half in order to heal and get back there out on the mat. So my last and final point before I let you go is it's very important to not have the mentality that, oh, it's my age and I'm too old for this, because that is a mentality that is it's a defeatist mentality, and it's a slippery slope, and you don't want to start blaming, these little aches and pains and what I call 24-hour injuries on age. It's something that we all go through. It's a full combat sport. If you're rolling, if you're grappling, you're going to be banged and bruised coming out of it. You know what I'm saying? Like this isn't knitting. So after I roll, I usually come home and 50% of the time I have a bump, a bruise, some sort of like small sprain, and it goes away by the next morning. But taking the shower that night, I'm like, oh God, it feels like, it's a full combat sport. You're going to get bumps and bruises, and I want you to know that it's not because of your age. It like literally happens to everybody. And if you have a good diet and if you get good sleep and you drink a lot of water, you will be fine the next morning. Now, there is an advantage to training when you're older because it forces you to train smarter. So younger people develop bad training habits because they're so used to be able to, okay, let's get out there on the mat, let's not warm up, let's have high intensity rolls with every single person, and then have a crappy diet, not get any sleep. And then all of a sudden they get older and they're like, wait a minute, how come I can't do this anymore? But had they trained like a person over 30 or 40 from the get-go, they would have had like much more longevity and they wouldn't have beaten themselves up so much. So my point is, if you're watching this because, the title and the SEO is like, oh, Jiu-Jitsu over 30, you already have a mentality by what you searched of being a little bit self-conscious about your age. And I'm telling you right now, don't think like that. Okay, I know it's whatever seed implanted, like about, oh, my age. Like, no, it's all your mentality, it's your frame of mind, it's your lifestyle, right? If I thought that I was too old to do, I don't even want to say those words. Like, I don't even let that thought enter. I can do whatever I want. It might not be to the highest level, but I can do what is challenging for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not going to not fight MMA fights just because I'm 35 and Dana White is notorious for saying like he won't let anybody in the UFC that's like not 20 years old. That stopped me from getting a local fight. No, there's plenty of organizations around here that I could get an MMA fight, and it's the same. I mean, there's if you're interested in competing, there's like masters divisions. There's plenty that you can do to challenge yourself for wherever you're at, which is the beauty of it. It's scalable. So yeah, just don't let that thought enter your mind because that shit's poisonous. Just concentrate on your lifestyle and make sure you're sleeping and make sure you can see like the darkness because it's starting to get so dark in here. And just be aware of your training volume, and roll with people that are hard rolls. Like, if I go on there on the mat and I know there's a very athletic white belt dude that is like, doesn't like still has a bit of an ego left because they haven't been in jiu-jitsu long enough. Like, I know that's going to be a hard roll. And it just depends. I'm not going to say like, oh, don't roll with anybody bigger, because it's really about how they roll in their personality. You have some bigger people that are totally capable of slowing down the pace and doing a nice, flowy, light roll. And I'll tell you one thing that's going to make all the difference in your jiu-jitsu. One super wasteful thing that I see white belts do, and I really don't like to roll with white belts that do this, that's kind of also like why I like training No Gi, is it's really a waste of time if you have two people trying to roll and the only thing that they're doing is staying in the same position, death gripping each other. Like that, the only thing that's going to do is going to cause you to get sore. And then how much jiu-jitsu movement did you practice? Zero. So I would encourage you, if you are feeling sore and you still want to practice jiu-jitsu movement, to drill or do what's called flow rolling, where it's like you're just rolling lightly with little resistance. You're not trying to fight each other. You're like fighting at 50%. So the movement is still realistic, but it's not weighted so much with resistance of somebody else trying to fight you. And it's very hard to find people that really do know how to flow roll and are capable of just keeping it at 50%. But once you find those people, it's usually upper belts that aren't just like super aggressive. They know how to chill out. But all right, so thank you so much for watching. And I just want you to know that you can do it. If you are out of shape, just start jiu-jitsu, okay? Like if you think you're too old, just start jiu-jitsu. You will figure it out. You will figure out the lifestyle. You'll figure out what your body needs and wants. And if you just listen to your body, tap early, warm up, you'll be fine, all right? So until next time, if you found this useful, if you stayed all the way until the end, definitely subscribe, because I have very useful content out and I've been showing a lot of my rolls, which has been really helpful for people to see a smaller person out there, like doing takedowns on bigger people, getting submissions, and you know. All right, so until next time.